Today we have a review of Twitter stock, TWTR, guys. So I'm going to give you my opinion on Twitter without going too much into the numbers, more of just how I feel about it and all that stuff. If you do like this video, make sure you subscribe and do all that great stuff. But let's get into the actual review here of Twitter. So Twitter is a really polarizing company, especially recently, more than any time in the past. Elon Musk last week made a $43 billion offer to 100% take full ownership of Twitter and take it private. This is breaking news, guys. It just came out, and as somebody who's owned Twitter for a little bit now, I want to tell you what I think about the offer itself plus the company. So starting with the offer itself, I do think the offer is not unreasonable. Twitter has only grown maybe 20% over the past 9 years since the IPO price. Not a very impressive movement at all. And before Elon Musk announced this, they were down over the past 9 years. They were in the 30s, the price tag. To be fair to Twitter, the stock market as a whole experienced a pretty significant downturn since about September of 2021. To be fair to Twitter, I can't blame it all on them. All growth stocks, from big tech to SPACs, all that stuff took a big hit, so I can't blame it all on Twitter, but their stock price has not reflected very well over the past 9 years. Even before this whole collapse, it still wasn't doing that great. So Elon wants to make the website more impartial, blah blah blah. I'm not here to give you my personal opinion on if I think Twitter is impartial or not, but he believes it's not, and he wants to buy it, make it private, make it more of a free town board so everybody can share their ideas freely, because he's under the impression that that doesn't really exist. I can tell you, I don't think that's the primary problem with Twitter. To be fair, I don't think he's doing this for the revenue. He even said he was. It's really just for that humanitarian goal in his head, that he thinks this will help Twitter become a better platform for humanity. To his point, a lot of people use Twitter to release a lot of information. From the Ukrainian war, a lot of stuff comes out on there. For Pete's sake, Elon Musk challenged Vladimir Putin to a trial by combat, and then a governor, one of the governors of a Russian territory, I know it's not called governor in Russia, he responded with an essay saying how Vladimir Putin would destroy Elon in a one-by-one trial by combat. You cannot find this content anywhere else. You just can't. Excuse me. There's something unique about Twitter, and I think Elon wants to have a bigger stake in the game. He owns 9.2% of the company. From the time I'm recording this video, which is Saturday, he is no longer the largest shareholder. Surprisingly, Vanguard took a 10% stake in the company. Their stake was a little bit lower a couple days ago, but they just took over the lead. I wonder if that's for bragging rights or what. I'm not quite sure, but they did take over the lead. So that's something to keep in mind, guys. So that's my analysis on the offer itself. I do think it's not unreasonable. The price, the controversy behind Twitter, the growth over time has never been great. To be fair to them, also, the research and development budget has gone up exponentially in the past 12 months. They have spent a lot more money on research and development. They spent about $1.2 billion. If you compare that to the year before, they spent about $873 million. So there is a nice kind of growth there. And to be fair, the revenues are growing. Even though the stock price isn't growing, the revenues are growing. So I give them credit for that. They had about $5 billion of revenue last 12 months, which is good. Good to see an improvement. But the operating income was negative, man. It was like $500 million in the hole. And that's the first time they've lost money on an operating income basis in a while. But to be fair to them, they are investing a lot more money, which just goes hand in hand. But it is alarming after 9 years that they don't appear to be any closer to truly being net positive in terms of profit, not just operating income, all that stuff. But there's a lot that goes into it. I really understand Elon's opinion on this, and overall, I don't think it's a particularly bad deal, especially if he keeps private investors, public investors like me on board. He says he wants to keep the maximum allowed, about 2,000 private investors. So it would be nice to get involved there. But besides Vanguard not owning more than he does at 10%, but Saudi Arabia, their sovereign fund, actually owns a decent amount of this company. So it's really hard for me to imagine a circumstance where they want this to go private. Because let's be honest, Saudi Arabia, you may think of Saudi Arabia as one thing or the other, but I don't think free speech is something they're known for. And I don't think they want to be involved in a company that's potentially saying diminishing things or derogatory things towards the regime. And I think now, because the algorithm which he wants to make public is private, they can kind of subtly do that without causing too much controversy, without people knowing. And besides that, I mean, Jack Dorsey still owns 2% of Twitter. So that's what makes Twitter a little bit unique. Usually the founders of these big social media companies have a large stake and have a majority stake, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook. That's a primary example of that. Can't say YouTube, the founders left. But I know there's other examples too out there. I believe the founder of Snap still has a very large stake. And same thing with Pinterest and all that stuff. So whatever. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. But now let's kind of move the conversation now to Twitter itself as a company. Twitter is obviously a social media platform, one of the largest out there. User growth has staggered in recent years, and I think that's where that research and development cost, which is increasing, is going to help in not only retain customers, but also continue that user growth. I do think that's why they're spending all this money on that. And I do think it will pay dividends, but it's still concerning that their user growth, considering how polarizing Twitter is. But whether it's Elon Musk talking about trial by combat, whether it's the CEO of Robinhood talking about Dogecoin, whether it's Trump, when he used to be on the platform talking about all the stuff he used to talk about, there's a lot of polarizing figures on there. And the fact that they're losing growth, or just the user growth is stagnant or even in decline, is very concerning that Twitter has reached market saturation. To be fair, Facebook has about 4 times more users, about 2 billion compared to 500 million that Twitter has. So I'm not convinced that that's the real problem. The real problem has always been with Twitter, in my opinion. The monetization strategy of Twitter has always been atrocious. It's always been horrible. Their advertising platform is garbage, and they never seem to really get on the same page as what Facebook does. Their video ads are incredible on Facebook. It really is, and you would think Twitter would take a page out of its playbook of Facebook, but they really haven't. Yes, Twitter Spaces is a step in the right direction, although that's something more of what Twitch is doing and all that stuff, that video content and the live streams and have kind of ads during that. But still, I think they could do more on the video front. People post videos on Twitter all the time. Those are not monetized at all. I usually don't see ads on them. Yes, you have ads, like written ads or post ads. Usually it's post ads where you're on your Twitter feed, right? You see all your favorite people and you see something all of a sudden that doesn't look like a normal tweet and it appears to be a sponsored post. But other than that, I've never seen any other types of advertising on Twitter. And I do think that is a way they can capitalize, is by diversifying and also enhancing their advertising platform. That's how these companies make money. Google, for example, made $250 billion in revenue last year. And you know what? 80 to 85% of that was ad revenue. There's plenty of money to be made in ad revenue. You just have to do it right. And Twitter is sure the hell not doing it right. And I do think they need to turn that around if they want to make their business profitable for the first time ever. I do think it's something that needs to happen one way or the other. So I do think Twitter is a very, very influential and important platform to humanity. I do think it is. But if they can't produce any money, they can't make money, then it's definitely a concern. I don't have a large stake in Twitter. I don't usually like to disclose my stakes in companies. I only own about 150 shares, a relatively small stake overall, so I don't mind sharing that with you guys. And that doesn't mean and just because I own a small stake doesn't mean I'm always going to say it. But I think in this case, I just want to share my opinion on it because I am a shareholder, about 150 shares. I'm definitely concerned about Twitter. I definitely am. You know, this situation with Elon is generating a lot of buzz. And let's say Elon and the board, which the board seems to be pretty much against it, which I don't know how I feel about that, but they do seem to be against it, you know? And because of that, if this deal falls through, which it does seem like it is, although there was rumors from the New York Post today saying that Elon is enlisting help from other people to try to take over, do a hostile takeover, which I don't mind hostile takeovers. When you have all those people buying shares, and all that's going to do is increase the price. You've already seen a nice price increase from about 30 and change to 50, low 50s, right? Just from Elon buying 9%. So there's a hostile takeover. He's going to have to buy a lot of shares. And you know what? I'm all for that because that's going to cause the price to hit meme stock territory, which it has the potential to already, which is why I don't want to just sell out of it. I do think whether the fundamentals are good or great, with this point now, Elon getting so involved, meme stock status is definitely possible, no matter what happens here. So this is something I'm really going to keep an eye on in terms of whether I'm increasing my stake or decreasing my stake. But I think for now, I'm just going to hold. And, you know, but if, let's say, Elon decides to sell his stake and move on, which is also possible, that's the downside of this. All of a sudden, you're going to see a very, very precipitous drop, probably below the levels where it was before, which was in the low 30s, and then I'll lose some money because of that, because my average cost was in the low to mid 30s. I did average up a little bit once Elon got involved because I thought maybe it would meme stock, which so far it hasn't, but it has some nice price appreciation in only a few weeks, guys. So yeah, that is overall my opinion of Twitter. I do think it is a very important company. I think the tweet system and how you can't edit that, I think it just adds to the mystique of Twitter. It doesn't bother me because you know what? Some of the greatest content on Twitter can be attributed to not being able to edit tweets. But at the same time, I'm not against them doing it, but I think it's what adds to what makes Twitter fun and all that stuff compared to the platform. But overall, I don't know what to say, but if you do wanna support the channel, consider buying or making a Robinhood account and using my link. You'll get a free stock, I'll get a free stock. In addition, I'll have a link to Amazon, to the official t-shirt, or something to do with Twitter. If you want to support me, you can buy that thing on Amazon. Don't buy anything on Amazon with my link. It all supports me. But otherwise, guys, you can always make sure you like, comment, subscribe, favorite, put on the notification bell, and turn off Adblock. All that stuff really helps me, guys. I'm making this video right now in a hotel room because I have COVID. I've been kicked out of my own house. So I'm making you this content with COVID right now. So if you appreciate me doing this, sitting down for a 12-minute video when I'm gasping for air right now, then you know what to do. We hope you guys enjoyed that video. Twitter is one hell of a polarizing stock, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you and bye.